Hello and welcome to Spill the Tea. True Stories, the place where real life is more fascinating than fiction. Sit back, pour yourself a cup of tea, and let's dive into the moments that stay with us forever. We're starting now. Mary was in a hurry. Today, a medical examination was scheduled at work, and she absolutely had to see several specialists before her shift started. If only she could make it, otherwise, she'd have to stay late. She worked as a nurse at the hospital and loved her profession. The only thing that caused dissatisfaction was the constant changes in the schedule. She often grumbled when she was put on unscheduled shifts. In response, colleagues usually said, "Oh, what are you complaining about, Mary? You're the only one here who's unmarried and childless, and a little extra money won't hurt. We all have families, children." "I have a husband, too," Mary objected. However, her husband Robert wasn't bothered at all by his wife's evening and night shifts. "Mary, don't worry about me. What, can't I heat up my own dinner? Or do I need a nanny to tuck me in? I'm not a child after all." So Mary took night and 24-hour shifts more often than others. That day, the young woman managed to see almost all the doctors before the start of the working day. Only the gynecologist remained. Mary was already getting ready to leave, pulling on her clothes, when she heard the doctor's words. "Development is going as it should. I think there's no cause for concern. I just advise you to hurry up and register. Quite a bit of time has already passed, and your age isn't what it used to be, so it's not worth risking." Mary froze. She had no idea what he was talking about. "What do you mean? What development? Development of what? Do I have problems? Am I sick? Why do I need to register?" she asked the doctor, agitated. The gynecologist smiled. "My dear, pregnancy is not an illness. And can this really be called a problem? You need to register so that a specialist can monitor you. You are already 35 years old, which is quite old for a first birth. I will write you a certificate. With it, go to your local doctor." I'm pregnant?" Mary whispered, her eyes wide open. The doctor began to show impatience. "And you didn't know? Look, madam, I have many more patients. I've explained everything to you. The rest is up to you. All questions to your attending physician. Goodbye." Mary automatically took the certificate, left the office, and shuffled down the corridor. Thoughts raced chaotically in her head. Pregnant? It can't be. They had lost all hope so long ago. There had been so many unsuccessful attempts. This news completely bewildered her. Yes, she had noticed that her work uniform felt tight, but she hadn't paid attention to it, attributing it to an increased appetite. She thought she had just gained a little weight. Okay, that was explainable. But why had she suddenly started eating so much? Could it really be because of pregnancy? And also, she had completely forgotten about her period. When was the last time? She couldn't remember. Oh God, she was pregnant. She needed to make sure immediately. Mary hurried to the nurse's station. Her friend Stacy was sitting there on the couch, engrossed in her phone. "Oh, Mazzy, you're back. What's wrong with you? You look pale like you've seen a ghost. Did something happen?" Stacy looked up. Mary shook her head, but then immediately asked, "Stace, by any chance, do you have a pregnancy test?" Stacy was known throughout the hospital as a flighty person. She often had romances both outside the clinic and within its walls. Feelings sometimes overtook her at the most inconvenient moment, and the girl didn't always bother with contraception. So she always had tests at work. "Of course I do. Wouldn't be without them," Stacy answered briskly, rummaging in her drawer. She pulled out a couple and handed them to Mary. "You know how to use them, I hope?" She winked. But Mary was in no mood for jokes. With a serious expression, she took both tests, grabbed an empty sample jar from the table, and quickly went to the restroom. A few minutes later, Mary stood in the restroom, clutching 2 tests in her hands. Both showed a positive result. She shifted her gaze from one to the other. 2 lines again. Bright, clear, even. There was no doubt left. She really was pregnant. It had happened just when she had finally let go and resigned herself to the thought of being childless. That day, Mary couldn't work. She took a day off without pay, citing sudden indisposition. She urgently needed to go home to share this stunning news with her husband. On the bus ride home, Mary thought, why was it crawling so slowly? It seemed the whole world was conspiring against her. Finally, she reached home. Entering the apartment, she took out the test. With a smile on her face, she headed towards the living room, clutching the cherished strip in her hand, and then immediately lost her voice. Some girl was lying on their new sofa, covered with a blanket, and Robert was hastily pulling on his trousers. His face was crimson, angry, and bewildered. He clearly hadn't expected his wife to catch him in such a delicate situation. What's going on?" Mary barely managed to utter. "Nothing terrible is happening," Robert replied in a muffled voice. The girl just blinked silently. She had turned pale with fear. Who knew what her lover's wife might do? What if she decided to grab her hair? Mary continued to clench the pregnancy test in her fist. She realized that her life had just taken a sharp turn. The ground seemed to have disappeared from under her feet. It became hard to breathe. Nausea rose. Robert took her by the elbow and led her to the kitchen. Turning around, he quietly threw to his paramour, "Get dressed quickly." Mary automatically went into the kitchen and stopped, staring at the bottle of wine and 2 glasses standing on the table. "Why are you back so early?" her husband asked, displeased. Mary turned a bewildered look on him. "I felt sick, nauseous. I took the day off," she stammered. Robert grunted and ruffled his hair. "You could have called and warned me you were coming home." Mary frowned. "I have to call and warn you that I'm coming to my own house? Why? So you can hide your mistress? Are you out of your mind? What's going on, Rob? What's wrong? Do you not love me anymore?" Robert wouldn't look her in the eye. "No, I just relaxed a bit, and don't you dare raise your voice at me. Don't make a scene." Robert peered into the hallway. The front door slammed shut. The mistress was gone. "Rob, make a scene in front of whom? Your mistress? I can yell as much as I want. You have no right to shut me up." Robert flared up. "You know, I think I'll leave for now. I'll come back when you've calmed down. You've made a scene out of nothing. Big deal. I slept around a couple of times. So what? I'm not leaving you, I live with you. That means I'm fine with everything, and there's nothing to discuss. That's it, I'm leaving. We'll talk later, when you can perceive reality adequately. And while I'm gone, think about your behavior. Maybe you'll realize what you're doing wrong, since I had to get a mistress. And she, by the way, doesn't throw tantrums because I have a wife, although she could. She just enjoys herself. I advise you to reflect on that." And Robert left. A couple of minutes later, the front door slammed. Mary stood in the kitchen, motionless. She clenched her fists. She felt something sharp digging into her left palm. It was the pregnancy test. It was still clutched in her hand. And Rob hadn't even asked what it was. He hadn't even noticed it. Mary cried. Half an hour later, Mary decided that she no longer wanted to live with her husband. He had betrayed her, and it seemed he didn't really need her. Mary couldn't stay home anymore and went to the hospital. Stacy was there. Maybe her friend could at least support her somehow. Stacy immediately understood from Mary's appearance that something was wrong. "Mary, why are you back? You were feeling sick. What happened?" Stacy asked. Mary couldn't hold back and burst into tears again. She told her friend everything. Stacy listened attentively, then sighed heavily. "Well, friend, you've had a day. Getting the most wonderful and the most terrible news at the same time is no joke. I see your husband doesn't particularly want a child. Maybe you should have an abortion." Mary shook her head negatively. "What are you saying? No, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. I've dreamed of a child so much and I won't give him up. This is my miracle. I'll file for divorce. The decision is made. I just need to leave Rob. Move to my own apartment. I don't know how to do that. If I go back home, he'll either try to persuade me or start yelling. I won't be able to handle his pressure while pregnant. He might convince me to stay, and I don't want to. I can't live with him after everything. And Mary covered her face with her hands, crying again. Stacy thought, biting her lips and closing her eyes. Then she perked up. Listen, let me help you. More precisely, not me, but Davy. It's simple. David was Stacy's brother. A good guy, cheerful, sociable. He had divorced several years ago, his wife had cheated on him, and David found out about it. When Mary met him, he was just going through the divorce. She often saw him. He constantly visited his sister, and Mary enjoyed talking to him. He was so intelligent, attentive. One time Stacy told her, "Listen, I think Davy's got a thing for you. He visits the hospital without a reason far too often, like he wants to see you." "Don't be silly, Stacy." "Nonsense. I'm married. He doesn't look at me like that." "You're just imagining things," Mary replied. Now Mary thought that David was the only one who could really help. Tomorrow her husband would be at work from morning till evening. Mary and Stacy had a day off. Maybe it really was a good idea. They could manage to pack and move things to Mary's apartment. It was good that she hadn't rented it out after the last tenants. How fortunate everything had turned out. Mary agreed. Stacy called her brother, and they arranged everything. Mary went to Stacy's place to spend the night after her shift. Her husband called her all evening and night, but Mary didn't answer. The next day, David arrived at his sister's place at 7 in the morning. "Are you crazy? Why are you here so early? I'm not even up yet." But Mary was already awake. While Stacy went back to sleep for another half hour, Mary made David breakfast and fed him. She didn't tell David anything about her problems with her husband, but it was clear from his face that he was eager to know the details. However, he didn't ask questions. He just said, "Mary, you can always count on me. I'm very sorry that you're unhappy, and your husband turned out to be a jerk. I'd move mountains for a woman like you, and I'd make her the happiest woman in the world. I would never trade you for another." Mary just nodded, but his sincere words made her feel warm and calm inside. She noticed that when she accidentally touched his hand while handing him a plate of pancakes, his hand trembled. Could Stacy have been telling the truth, and David really did like Mary? Oh, nonsense. They moved the things to Mary's apartment, and she immediately felt lighter. Stacy was in a hurry for a date with another suitor and left, leaving Mary and David alone. "You can go too. I'll manage myself. Thank you very much," Mary said. But David just rolled up his sleeves and replied, "I'm not leaving until we finish everything. You shouldn't lift heavy things. I'll help." So Stacy had told David about the pregnancy after all. Well, everyone would find out sooner or later anyway. Together they finished quickly. David helped a lot. He carefully offered her his hand when she climbed onto or down from a chair. He moved furniture so Mary could wash the floors. He fixed the toilet, washed the windows where Mary couldn't reach. Mary looked at him and thought, why wasn't Robert like this? He never helped his wife the way this essentially stranger was helping her. When everything was done, Mary said, "Thank you, Davy. You are a wonderful man. Your future chosen one will be lucky. I myself wish I had a husband just like you." David smiled. "So what's stopping you?" "Personally, I'm not against it. Get your divorce finalized quickly, and I'll propose to you. Will you marry me, Mary?" Mary was speechless. What kind of joke was this? She didn't know what to say and decided to play along. "David, I'm very flattered. But it's impossible. I'm pregnant with another man's child. What man would want to raise someone else's child? And I'm not going to get rid of him. So, I'm sorry. I can't." David said seriously, "But I'm not just any man, Mary. I will treat your child as my own. Don't compare me to others. I've admired you for so long, and now that you're leaving your husband, nothing will stop me from winning you over. You won't get rid of me that easily now. I'm going, but I'll be back tomorrow." The wardrobe needs fixing. I'll return with tools. And he left, and Mary sat in the kitchen for a long time, not believing her ears. Mary stepped out onto the building steps, squinting in the bright sun. In her hands was a huge bouquet of flowers. Her husband stood next to her. David held a baby in his arms and smiled broadly. Mary was smiling too. Stacy ran up to them. She was with her companion, who was soon to become her husband. Finally, Stacy had also found her happiness. Stacy shrieked, looking at Mary and her son. "Oh, what a cutie! Honestly, he's so handsome!" Mary didn't answer. She just enjoyed the moment. Who would have thought that by divorcing Robert, she would find true happiness? She had married Stacy's brother. He doted on Mary, took care of her every need, and he accepted the child as his own. "This is our son, Mary dear. This is my son. I won't give you up to anyone. Remember that," he told her, stroking her belly in the last month of pregnancy. Mary was happy. She didn't remember her ex-husband, just as he didn't remember her, apparently. His fate didn't interest her. Only one thing was important: her new family, her beloved, precious husband Davy, and their little son Leo. There is true love in this world. Now Mary knew it for sure.